Hi everyone, Nick Yeager here, Chief Information Officer at Global Fund Exchange. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. My goal is to show you in less than 10 minutes what vital assets are, why you should invest in them, and how to invest in them. So let's get started. We consider assets that are necessary for life, such as food, water, energy, and other natural resources, as vital assets. When looking at these sectors, it is important to understand that the cost of life-sustaining items is closely linked to several factors, like laws of supply and demand, as well as the global economy and government policy. These factors are aligned in a way that we believe represents the single largest investment opportunity of our lifetimes. Global population surpassed 7 billion last year and is on pace to reach 9 billion in the next 4 decades. This means massive investment must flow into vital assets in order to sustain life in the future. Infrastructure has to grow and production must increase. Politically, we have recently seen entire governments toppled because of food price increases and a lack of resources. It's on everyone's minds these days as this issue has come to light throughout politics and media. In Egypt alone, food prices rose 37% from 2008 to 2010. And most people don't realize how big a role the increase in food prices actually had on the Arab Spring. In Europe, and especially in the United States, central banks are effectively printing money like it's going out of style. These large increases in money supply pictured here will likely have a dilutive effect on the power of currency and continue to increase the cost of life-sustaining assets like energy, food, and clean water. While the negative effects of quantitative easing are not felt initially because they prop up the stock market, keep interest rates low, and increase banks' excess liquidity for lending, over the long term the results can be catastrophic. When banks stop hoarding these reserves and begin pumping liquidity back into circulation, the result can be sharp inflation that is extremely difficult to stop. While the impact of quantitative easing is hotly debated, there's no question that the cost of living has constantly been on the rise. And to make matters worse, despite the fact that productivity continues to increase, wages for 99% of Americans over the last 3 decades have remained stagnant. While wages have remained flat for 99% of Americans, you can see in this chart alone the cost of fuel has increased 300% between 1998 and 2011, and it's up even more in 2012. Healthcare costs are up 131% in the same time frame, and college tuition is up 47%, while comparatively, traditional assets like equities and bonds have not increased by nearly as much. Food price numbers tell the same story. Here you can see that food prices have increased by 113% in the last 10 years alone. In fact, over the next 4 decades, in order to meet human nutritional needs, the global agriculture industry will have to supply as much food as has been produced during all human history. Shifting weather patterns and extreme droughts present even more challenges for the industry to keep up with demand in the coming years. Also, the amount of arable land available for farming is being strongly outpaced by population growth, which will only get worse over the coming decades. We believe that these factors combined represent significant opportunity in the food and agriculture space. Water is just as important as food. Not only is it required to grow the food that the world demands, but it's also necessary for the production of energy and for drinking to sustain life. The world already lacks clean water infrastructure, with 3.4 million people dying each year from water-related diseases and 780 million people around the globe without access to clean water. While the world's population tripled in the 20th century, the use of renewable water resources has grown 6-fold. Explosive population growth coupled with industrialization and urbanization will result in an astounding increase in demand for water and will have serious consequences in many countries and the environment. This chart shows how little fresh water is actually available. Less than 1% of all the water in the world is fresh groundwater. What are we going to do when this water's gone? Increasing industrialization in emerging markets throughout the world, coupled with population growth, have projections for energy demand increasing for decades to come. Global demand for electricity will rise by more than 80% in the next 3 decades. In the same time frame, demand for energy for commercial transportation will rise by more than 70%. And by 2040, there will be a 50% increase in the number of households in the world, which all require energy for heat, electricity, and hot water. So, if supply and demand, economic and government policy is setting the stage for further increases in these costs, how do you offset them? Well, we believe that the best way to do this is by investing in commodities or through well-run companies that directly benefit from rising prices. It is a proven fact that commodities can help protect investment portfolios against inflation because they represent the value of goods and services, not the value of currency. Let's say you want to invest in vital assets, but you aren't an expert in these sectors. Well, then you need to find an expert. In fact, you need several if you're going to access all these themes, and you need several if you want a diverse portfolio in order to manage risk. One effective way to hire experts is by investing in hedge funds. But there are thousands of funds out there, more than 14,000 actually. Which ones do you buy? The ones that made money last year? Seems like that isn't usually successful, because statistically, chasing performance loses money. You could invest in some of the really big funds that are out there, if you can get in. Due diligence is easier on them, and the fees aren't very high. But where's the true value there? Studies show that historically it is the smaller, more nimble funds that deliver better returns. For funds that are smaller or younger, you need to perform deeper due diligence on them, and you need to spend thousands of dollars to fly all over the world and meet them, kick the tires, check out their operations and infrastructure, run background checks on the managers, analyze audits, offering documents, etc. Well, that sounds like a lot of work and very expensive, because it really is. But don't worry, there is someone that can help. Global Fund Exchange has a variety of multi-manager products that are focused purely on the vital asset space. We travel the world to find the best managers in these sectors, in order to give our clients access to expert managers that will work hard to generate returns while mitigating risk. With the right mixture of managers, the results are portfolios with a low volatility in correlation to the markets. For instance, our Aquaterra fund invests in hedge funds that are focused on water, agriculture, and natural resources. Our Earth, Wind, and Fire fund takes a top-level macro view on vital assets and invests in hedge funds that are focused on energy, clean energy, water, agriculture, and natural resources, along with a systematic and hedging overlay. Our Pure Water Fund focuses on long-biased water equity managers, investing in companies that benefit from increased demand in supply and infrastructure. Our Agri Fund invests mostly in commodities like wheat, sugar, coffee, cocoa, etc., but can also invest in companies that benefit from increased demand for food across the entire agriculture supply chain. Our Hybrid Energy Fund invests approximately 60 to 70% in traditional energy and 30 to 40% in clean energy commodities and equities to take advantage of the bridge period between traditional and alternative fuel sources. Our Energy Fund invests in traditional energy and takes advantage of opportunities caused by an ever-increasing demand for energy. And finally, our Liquid Earth Fund provides investors with improved terms of liquidity, transparency, and access to our best-in-class managers from all of our vital assets portfolios. Also available in a 2x levered version for even greater alpha generation and outperformance. Global Fund Exchange is also very experienced with building custom vital assets portfolios that are perfect for our clients' investment needs. With over 300 years combined investment experience, we truly are the experts at picking experts. So if you wish to access these exciting themes and invest in something that is real, contact us today.